This is a lecture from Open Tuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
We're now going to go through and finish off the chapter by looking at your discontinued operations. Again, it is a revision, a recap of what you've seen in financial reporting. But remember, the challenge within strategic business reporting is all about the application and applying it to more complex scenarios. But let's not get involved in complex scenarios for now. Let's just make sure that we're happy with the basic rules of what we see with regards to your discontinued operations. Remember what you have on your statement of profit or loss, which is where the focus is here with regards to disclosure, is that you've got all your revenues, your cost, your profit combined from your business operations. And there may be part of your business operation that you've decided to get rid of. Maybe you're deciding to close it down. Maybe you're deciding to sell it on to somebody else. And if that's the case, all those numbers are contained within the profits shown within the face of the financial statements on your statement of profit or loss, of which some of them may not then happen again in the future. Now, we're trying to make the information that we give to the user of the accounts more relevant, more faithful. So would it not be more relevant to the user of the account to see those material results of your discontinued operations shown separately from what you will then be continuing to generate for the foreseeable future? I think it would, wouldn't it? Okay, it'd be much better to do so. But to do so, you need some rules. Okay, so we're going to look there first of all at the definition of your discontinued operation. So that's really important to make sure that you know that it is a discontinued operation, because when it's discontinued is more important than with regards to the particular period. So is it going to be reported this year? Is it not going to be reported this year but then reported next year? Or could it well be that it's reported this year and next year? Okay, so we'll see that all in a moment. But first of all, in terms of the definition of a discontinued operation, the easiest bit about it is, well, if it's being disposed. So if it's being sold, the operation's gone, then it's discontinued, isn't it? So as it's gone, you need to show what there was this year, because it's not going to arise next year, is it? Okay, so that will be a discontinued operation. However, what happens if we haven't sold it? Maybe we're looking to sell it next year. Okay, so it could be held for sale, in which case it is a discontinued operation, but it needs to be a separate major line of business or geographical area of operation. So it has to be a major part of your business, not just one small element. It has to be, if you like, one big part of the operations that you have within the business. Okay, it has to be a geographical area. So maybe Brexit is on the horizon, isn't it? Maybe by the time you're watching this, it may have already happened if it's gone past that October the 31st deadline. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't even think the Prime Minister knows what's going to happen. But there we have it. So the key bit there is thinking about, well, maybe you're a global firm and maybe you want to close down a geographical area, i.e. the UK, because it's going to be too expensive to operate. So therefore that is a discontinued operation. Or maybe you have a major line of business. Maybe it's a particular model that is produced. So therefore you will have that as a discontinued operation because you're no longer going to produce it. Okay. It could be then also that it's a single coordinated plan. So you have to have a plan to be able to go through and do it. It's not being done in separate stages. Or alternatively, it is discontinued if it is a subsidiary that you've acquired and you're looking there to just dispose of it and just make some quick gains upon it. Okay. But it tends to be that we focus on the first two as opposed to that final element there. Okay. When is it discontinued? Well, it's discontinued if it's being disposed of. So if we sold it, it's discontinued. When do we discontinue it? In the year of disposal. Okay, so if I have an operation, a geographical location that I've closed down this year, the results are separated out this year. However, if it is held for sale, so you need to make sure there that we meet the criteria of it being held for sale. So it's highly probable that it's going to happen. If that's the case, you disclose it when it is held for sale. So it could be that you've got ideas this year about discontinuing it, but you haven't met the criteria, so therefore don't disclose it as held for sale, i.e. discontinued this year. You'll show it there next year. Okay, and again, this is where you've got to be careful in terms of when the decisions are made, particularly close to the reporting date, with regard to whether or not that operation is or isn't discontinued. Okay. In terms of the disclosure, I think your focus is here on the statement of profit or loss, as I've said before. Yes, it can appear on the SFP. Yes, it can appear on the statement of cash flows, but I'm not too worried about that. The statement of profit or loss, you can either go through there and disclose your profit for the year on the face, and to which there you'd have your profit for the year from your discontinued operations plus any profit or loss on disposal if it's being disposed of. Or alternatively, what you can then go through and do is you can put all the detail of your revenue, your expenses within the face, but it just looks a bit cumbersome. So maybe just put the profit for the year on the face, and then once you've done that, you can then put the detail within the notes to the accounts. Okay. On the statements of financial position, statements of cash flows, yes, it's fairly self-explanatory. Again, the cash flows that arise from the discontinued operation can appear on the face or on the notes, and then it's on the SFP. It makes sense that if you've disposed of the assets and liabilities, then obviously there's nothing to show. But if it's the held for sale, then you show the assets and effectively, if you like, the liabilities as well as being held for sale. Okay. So let's just go through a quick play around, if you like, with the example. So what you've got here, fairly typical of what you could see with regards to a line of business. So you have a car manufacturing operation. We're looking at the decision about closing it and how that impacts the financial statements for December 2015, and is it there December 2016? Okay. So we're told in the information that we'd be making losses. Following a meeting of the board of directors, it was decided to close down the operation on the 31st of March 2016. So that's in the following year, isn't it? The company's reporting date is the 31st of December, and the manufacturing operation is treated as a separate operating segment. So effectively, it is there as a separate line of business, isn't it? Okay. So what you've got there is, we're closing it down in 2016. So that's when effectively it will be held for sale, isn't it? So if that's the case, it will be a discontinued operation. Now, can you see that behind my head? I never know where my head appears sometimes. Okay, but what you've got there, key bit is that in 2016 it is discontinued, isn't it? If you go through there and think about 2015, well, you think, yeah, we've made the decision. Yes, you decided to close down the manufacturing operation. But what's happening between now in 2015 and March 2016? The business is still operating, isn't it? So it is not held for sale. Why? Because it is actually operating, isn't it? It's not held for sale just yet. Okay, it's never going to really be held for sale. It's just being closed down, isn't it? So therefore, because the business is still operating, and it will do for January, February, March of 2016, at this reporting date, December 2015, it is not going to be a discontinued operation. Okay, so therefore, not discontinued. You could, if you so wish, because it's a significant event in the post-reporting period, you could go through that and have it as a disclosure note and disclose the fact that the decision has been made and that the business will be discontinued next year. But as it stands in this 2015 reporting period, as we are continuing to use that asset, it cannot be classified as a discontinued operation. So all the results, the revenue, the costs, form part of your continuing operations in 2015. And then in 2016, that's when we will separate it out and have that discontinued operation. Okay, so it does try to trick you to get you to think, well, yeah, we've made the decision in 2015, therefore it is discontinued. No, it is continuing. Okay, there you have it. So keep an eye out for bits and pieces within the narrative elements of any questions for IFRS 5 and your discontinued operations. As I said, given the economic climate, given what's about to happen with regards to Brexit and other political things on the agenda, I think it will still be examined going forward.